Hey everybody, Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing. Today I thought I would bring you one of two videos that I've been wanting to do for a while now. Both of them are on hot topics going on in the bass fishing industry right now. Um, One of them being KVD, Kevin Van Dam, retiring from the sport. Not totally, as he says. And the other one, front-facing sonar. So I want to give you my perspective on that as well, of where I'm at in the sport, what level I fish at right now, and how that relates to front-facing sonar. Going to talk to you about the good, the bad, the ugly, and just give you my thoughts and opinions, and we'll just see where it goes from there. No doubt you've seen a lot of videos about it right now, most likely even commented on a few, and I'm sure you have your own opinions. But the first video I want to bring you is on Kevin Van Dam. I just want to share a few stories about the man, my interactions with him, just wish him well in his future endeavors. What motivated this was I've been wanting to do it for a while, but I watched the Mercer podcast last night with Kevin on it, and kind of prompted me to do it sooner than later. So I got a few notes because this goes back quite a few years. I started after Kevin. Kevin started, I believe, in the early 90s. I was mid to late 90s. When I started fishing professionally with bass, and so that was Lisa coming down to see what I was up to. So where was I? So Kevin and I. So Kevin started early 90s. I started later 90s, and back then, for the bass side, it was called invitationals, and it was pro on pro. And started out my first interaction with Kevin. I knew about him. Social media wasn't what it is today. Back then, of course, but through magazines and so forth, he had already made a name for himself in just half a dozen years, fishing professionally. So my first, not really an interaction, kind of just fishing against him. Like I said, it was pro on pro. I never drew him, to fish on the same boat. But I remember we were at Santee Cooper. I think it was my fourth actual professional tournament, third of that season, 1997, 98, I believe. We were on Santee Cooper in the late fall, and it was brutal. Just brutally tough. Big time cold front, high wind. I mean, crazy. I remember just trying to cut across the lake, and there were giant rolls. You would have thought you were on Erie. And you had to stay in the boating lanes, which made it even more difficult, to maneuver the boat, because you couldn't go where you needed to go to make it easier to navigate in that water. So 3-day tournament, full field, fished all 3 days. As I said, pro on pro. I wasn't on much. I only had a couple of bites. I was running up the Santee River, into the swamps, and I was flipping a jig. I know you're all surprised by that, but I was just flipping and pitching a jig around, black and blue jig, getting a few bites a day. And I ended up doing that every day and catching fish every day. I think the first day I might have had 1 or 2 fish. The second day, 1 or 2 fish. I know that's pretty much how it went. The third day, though, I had a decent bag and ended up cashing my first professional check there. I think it was only around $1,700, but it was for 32nd place finish, I believe. So what I remember, a couple things from the weigh-in, standing there. Kevin came up on stage, and he hadn't had a bite in 3 days. He didn't catch a fish in 3 days, and I remember him commenting that didn't happen to him very often. I don't know if it was for 3 days, but it was definitely that day. So I ended up beating Kevin in that tournament. I think it was probably the only tournament that I competed with him or against him that I finished ahead of him, to my knowledge. I remember Takahiro Mori coming up, and he was just coming onto the scene as well. His English wasn't that good, and they were messing with him that he had won like $50 or $500, something like that, and he had actually won 5,000. So that's what I remember from that. My first memory of really Kevin was there at Santee Cooper. And then we went on to Bugs Island, I think the following year. And I had a good first day. I caught him really well, came across stage, and I was, again, this is early in the first day. So I had taken the lead, and you come off, the stairs from the stage, and you go behind the stage, and that's where the media was. So I'm backstage, if you will, with all the media. It's like 6 or 8, reporters and cameras and microphones, and they're interviewing me about, my day and so forth. And while I was in the middle of that, I heard the crowd, get loud and clap and cheer and whatnot, and I heard him say Kevin's name, and of course, new leader, okay? So they all heard that as well, and Kevin talked for a little bit, and then he came down off the stairs, off the back of the stage, and I'm looking at the reporters, and they're looking at me, looking kind of past me, like, okay, there's your new leader. That's Kevin Van Dam, so they were kind of like done with me, but didn't want to offend me or anything. And so they were all like, yeah, okay, oh, thanks, all right. And they all run over to Kevin. And when they did that, Kevin looked right at me, and just a hard stare right at me, that definite game face, like, all right, I'm here to play. And he was, and he won that tournament. I was able to see him, run into him a few times in practice, and I was amazed at his ability to cover water and read water. And what I noticed, what I took away from that was, of all the different things that I saw him doing, he wasn't leaving any stone unturned at all. So that's what I remember from that. So that, that competition, he was just a fierce competitor, and still is to this day. So next memory I have was up on Thousand Islands in the fall, going out of Clayton, and I believe it was the tournament. Rick Lilligard won it, I believe, on largemouth in the river. Okay, and based on recent tournaments up there, I know that that's like complete total opposite from what's going on there now. Just an absolute world-class smallmouth fishery due to several factors, So, but during registration, I'm not sure how Kevin did in the tournament, but I know Rick Lilligard won it on largemouth. During registration back then, we always met at like a community hall or a high school gymnasium, and we had the meeting in person. We all sat on the bleachers. They went through all the rules and briefed us on the tournament, and then they would call out 2 names, and you were paired together. So they would call out a state, like Massachusetts, Michigan, and they would say Mark Burgess and whoever, Kevin Van Dam or whoever was there, and they'd be paired together. You'd stand, make eye contact, you'd walk out of the room to have your discussion on what we were going to do the next day. That's how they did it back then. So, but while we were waiting outside, I'm in line, and up behind me comes Kevin and Sherry, and they were holding their newborns. Each one of them had one of their sons in their arms, newborns, very fragile. They were both born premature, I believe, and they were both on oxygen. They had oxygen as well as they were carrying. They were standing in line, hundreds of feet long. Somebody must have alerted the bass staff or whatever, but they came out and they got Kevin and Sherry and the 2 boys, brought them in so they could register and get back to taking care of them. But that's, that makes me think of family commitment. At that time, we're talking the 90s. What it must have been like, trying to take care of 2 premature babies on the road. Obviously Sherry being a big part of Kevin the team, Van Dam, if you will. So thought that was pretty cool. Let's see, next memory, I think I had to write this stuff down so I wouldn't forget it. It was a Bassmaster University in Worcester, Mass, at the Centrum at the time. And Kevin and I were Kevin and I, trying to think of a few guys, Terry Baxay, can't remember who else, it was a couple other guys. Anyway, we went up, it was upstairs, we were both downstairs doing our thing, working with our sponsors, and we went upstairs to do the Bass U, something like a, introductory thing or something like that. We did that. I remember I sat in on Kevin's deal, and he saw me obviously in the audience, and I was probably just shy of a medium length cast away from him. He took, and as he was talking, he very competitive. He made eye contact with me again, looked at me, obviously knew each other better then, and just always just an intimidating force, in the best possible way. He flung a cast out with a spinnerbait, and it literally came right towards my head and stopped inches away, and he pulled it back, just to say, hey, I'm here, and mess with me, so. But we had a good time there. We another time we went up, and they weren't quite ready for us or what have you, and it was going to be like 15 or 20 minutes, before they were ready for us. He said, "I'm going back down and keep working." That was just a credit, to his work ethic. Go back downstairs, continue to work for his sponsors, meet people, and do his thing. So that was pretty cool. Next one was Wheeler. This was an elite event, Bassmaster Elite event, my first year, 2009. First couple tournaments. First tournament was Amistad in Texas. Then we went to, Dardanelle. I did okay at Amistad, but the fish weren't big enough, okay? I caught limits each day, and they obviously, did a lot better. So not a great finish there. Dardanelle, I had some history on, thought I could do well, just got out of the rotation, and it didn't work out, and it was a bad tournament. So we go to Wheeler, and so I'm at that point. That's when Don Barone interviewed me for his deal, where he kind of aligned me with the NFL, just like a rookie in the NFL. Just you get out there and you get messed up, and you turn the helmet, you're looking through the air hole, So, but at that point, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm just gonna fish the way I like to fish, follow my gut instincts, what I feel I need to do. No preconceived, no fishing the way a lake's supposed to be fished or anything like that. And did well and cashed my first check on the Elite Series. So I remember this was my first cut meeting, and I'm sitting beside Kevin, and look over at him, and he's all bundled up. He's still in rain gear, and he's all just bundled up sitting there, and it wasn't that bad out. So, and I didn't quite pick up on it, so I said, hey, and he barely get in the cut, and I said, so what happened to you out there? He turns, he goes, oh, I'm sick as a dog. It's like, yeah, of course you are. Okay, so I beat you in a couple days, but you were, you weren't 100%. Then he went on to make the top 10 final cut. I did not. So, there you have it. Thought that was funny. And, another time, we're up at Oneida. It was the last tournament of the year, of the season. Everything's wrapping up, and I was doing some work for one of my sponsors, and I had a bait that would just come out with, and it was a segmented jointed, 3-pot jointed hard swim bait, like a glide bait, before they were a thing. And I'm standing there and I'm waiting for us. We're gonna shoot some video with it, and I needed a good fish. You know, it didn't matter whether it was largemouth or smallmouth, but I needed a good fish to shoot the video with. Camera people, media people were there to do it. So, you know, I'm back there waiting for a decent fish to come through that I can do my stuff with. And he looks at it. He just grabs the bait out of my hand. He's looking at it. He's checking it out. He goes, "Oh, that's pretty cool." He goes, "But, you know, it's too solid." He goes, "It's too wide and too solid. It's going to need to be, you know, translucent. Go back and tell him, you know, make the top solid, but then make it translucent so it doesn't have as big a profile." And I said, "Oh, I appreciate it." He's, "Oh, no problem." You know, so that's Kevin, even, you know, being competitive in all phases of the sport, fishing, sponsorship, what have you, you know, giving me some tips to relay back to the manufacturer how to improve this bait. So, but yeah, that was, you know, that's my experiences with Kevin. You know, it's just, you know, the invitationals. I fished the FLW tour in like '99, 2000 as well. Also fished the FLW series, which came out in like '06, same year as they changed the name for the Bass Top 150, BP Top 150 to the Elite Series. Also fished, you know, for Yamaha in that series. And that was a tough series. That took the best guys from Bass and the FLW tour, put them together, and it was tough. I mean, he had the best of the best on both sides, from both sides. And I ran a couple of years. I fished it a couple of years. Had a lot of fun with that as well. So, you know, fishing, you know, with Kevin, against Kevin, you know, around Kevin, certainly just an absolute, you know, dominating force. He's done a tremendous amount for the sport, and I'm excited to see what he's doing for the future as well. So I just thought I'd just put that out there and just, you know, give him some kudos, and you know, just wish him the best. So that's all I got on that. So next video I'm gonna do for you, coming up here, you know, in a little bit, will be my take on front-facing sonar. So stay tuned for that. But Mark Burgess, Big East Bass Fishing. Just enjoy the weekend. We got some fantastic weather here finally, right before Labor Day weekend here, and end of summer, beginning of fall. So, all right, be good. We'll see you guys in the water.